You see the car? Yeah.
Bernie!
Oh, yeah.
It's a Bernie dog.
Oh, yes. Always the Bernie dog.
Go Bernie!
Yeah. You've been wearing that for a long time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a public access.
But I had used it twice, two different cards twice in that time frame.
No!
But, so after a year or two.
I don't know what you complain about. That's actually
Bottled water? Oh no, not bottled water. No.
You all work together. You grab it
Here, take this.
My son is Dave. Yeah.
2 years ago, my wife and I went down to Carpet Lumber to buy some tile for the kitchen. I had somebody that looked around and they saw things that we liked and they bought something on it. Sorry that she used it. Not very often. So she thought she would just use it to sort of chase, or not chase, but secret.
Thank you, Jake.
Those are beautiful.
Ooh, like that
I
shirt.
know. Take a pause and
Get that on camera.
Whoa.
Hello. Just reading your chair. We have t-shirts as well.
Yeah, you know, Chris, local artist, designed these.
Who?
Chris, oh shoot, can't remember his last name.
Oh dear. Sorry, Chris.
He's a local cartoonist.
So I'm going to go through some thank yous and a few introductions. We've got Dustin here. He is our field staff representative for RDP in Athens. I'd like to thank John Buchanan for the food. And we have another list of donors on the wall. Please take a minute to see who has donated and helped with this event. We have the coordinator for the TED campaign in Athens County, Carol Patterson. Carol, you want to wave back there? I'm going to recognize Jeff Maiden for donating the scissors. The ribbon cutting will be later. Francis. A few introductions. College Dems. We got a good showing here. Raise your hand. A few elected officials here. I'm the city auditor. We got Lisa Elias in the back there, our law director. Jeff Reiser, a city council member. And we have sewer officials. Former Mayor Rick Abel. Chris Ball is council member for the 4th ward. And then we have former municipal court judge William Grimm. Just retired at the end of last year, and former probate court judge Alan Goldsberry. Oh, sorry, which one is it? Common Pleas. Oh, I always get those. We knew that. Great party supporters, and still are, even though they're not in office anymore. We appreciate that. Next, the committee who planned all this great event. Kate McGuckin, raise your hand.
welcome and thank you for coming.
Rita Bennett on the committee. And two people who couldn't be here, Chris Schmiel, who's the county commissioner, and then Ben Freck also helped with this event. We also have Debbie Phillips, Lou Gentile here, and of course the wonderful Francis Strickland here to represent TED. So Debbie and Lou and Francis are going to talk a little bit, and then we'll do our ribbon cutting. Okay? Debbie.
many people here on such a chilly day. You all were brave enough to come out in the cold for this. So it's really, really wonderful to have an office space set up this early and so many people that are excited about getting involved in the election. Every single election is really, really important. It's hard to get that through the minds of a lot of folks. We're going to have a lot of enthusiasm this year because it's a big presidential election year, and hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of folks involved and then keep a lot of folks involved in building a really strong party that is going to be able to continue the work at the local and the state level, working on the policies that affect so many of the people that we care about. We're in a tough political climate here in Ohio. We just saw our neighboring state, West Virginia, become the, I believe, 26th right to work is wrong state. And those attacks just keep coming. I think to a lot of folks it looks like it's kind of a wave of this, but we know if we're paying any attention at all, it's just a handful of incredibly rich people who are trying to push their own policy goals on the whole rest of the country. And we have got to educate ourselves and our friends and our family and stay organized, because where we can beat that kind of money that's pushing policies that hurt working families and middle class families is because there's a lot more of us. So if we stick together and really engage in the work on an ongoing basis, we win. When they tried that here in Ohio with Senate Bill 5, we were able to organize, collect over 1 million signatures and beat that. And Athens County, by the way, had the strongest percentage vote no to repeal Senate Bill 5. So that's something we can all be really proud of. But we've got big fights ahead of us this year. We're going to have important local elections going on. I'm not going to be able to be your state rep anymore because we have term limits in Ohio. So you're going to have a great opportunity to get to know some really good folks who are running. And we have Sarah Grace is here with us today for the office opening. And there is a contested primary in that race, but glad Sarah can be here with us. We also have important races this spring for who's going to be our voice in Washington. We know that Ted has always remembered where he comes from and really worked hard to take care of folks. Every time you see Ted out there talking with people, you can tell he is totally listening and really cares about the folks who are right there in front of him, and he remembers who he's working for. And that's the kind of representation we really need in the U.S. Senate. So really excited that Francis can be here with us and help us get started strong for Ted here in Athens County. I think we have one of the classic Ted Strickland. Yeah. We have one of we have the new one, the U.S. Senate one up there. But there are some old T-shirts kicking around here that people will probably remember well that say when Athens County votes, Ted wins. Yeah. So we've got a big responsibility to Ted this year. And I'm also really delighted that Lou Gentile's here with us to celebrate the office opening. Lou's done an excellent job. He started off in the House, and we got to work together closely there. And then he quickly moved over to the Ohio Senate and represents a larger territory. But sometimes, like when you're in one of those chambers, things can happen fast, and you don't always have that communication going back and forth. But with Lou, we've had a great partner. Like he and I have been able to stay in touch about what's going on, what's happening back and forth between the chambers, and make sure that we can work well together for this region. And if you remember our previous senator, we didn't have that kind of working relationship. So I've just been thrilled to have Lou in there and really glad that he can be here with us today. And I think last time yours was one of the top spending races where they were really coming after you. And
was then and will be again.
Will be again. Lou's going to need every one of us out there working for him too, so he can keep fighting for us. So, Lou Gentile.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. And I got to say, I'm really proud of my friend Debbie Phillips, and I'm going to miss her. She's been doing a great job in the state legislature. And when you look at education and the state of education today, and you look at what John Kasich and the Republicans have done to education, we have had some of the most solid, staunch advocates for public education, but Debbie Phillips has led that fight in Columbus. We're going to miss that voice, but she's done a great job. She's represented our part of Ohio really well. we're often sort of the redhead stepchild of the region, and we work really hard together to try to make sure that we're firm about the things that really matter to people in Southeast Ohio. So appreciate, Debbie, your service, and we're going to keep you involved and keep you around somehow. It's great to be here, and I want to say, she'd mentioned for Ted Strickland what this county has meant to Ted Strickland. I want to say thank you to Athens County. If it was not for Athens County, I would not be serving in the Ohio Senate today, and I want to thank you for that. I used to call and say to my friends down here, I said, nobody knows me. You know, I was a House rep, a senator overnight. Next thing I know, I'm running in a 10-county race, including Athens County. They're spending over $1 million against me, and Athens County voted. And I always tell people at the State House, I'm really proud of my district. You know, you cannot fool the people of Southeast Ohio. John Kasich did not fool the people of Athens and Monroe County. You know, and you look at that map in 2014, 2 counties voted against Governor Kasich, Athens and Monroe County, and I'm proud to boast of 2 counties that opposed this guy for re-election to governor, I can tell you that much. Right to work is happening. It's happening in my neighboring state there, where I live on the border in West Virginia. It can happen right here in Ohio. And we have to be absolutely vigilant and stay strong and continue to make sure we explain to people, and people in this region of the state understand why this is bad for our communities. It's bad for organized labor, but let me tell you, it's bad for all workers in Ohio, because organized labor sets the bar. They lift wages, they lift working conditions for all workers. And so we've got to send a message to the people in Columbus that right to work is wrong for our state. This comes from West Virginia to Ohio. I can promise you this much, I'll lead the fight against it right here in the state of Ohio. 2016 is a critical year, and we got a lot of work to do, but I want to say a couple things and introduce the main attraction today. You know, Republicans are so good at talking about how they made it themselves. They didn't need anybody else to make it. You know, we make it on our own in life, and you know, if you can't make it on your own, forget about it. Well, I can tell you that's not true. That each of us are connected to one another, and so we have a vested interest in one another's success. I can tell you through my own life experience, if it wasn't for my parents, I'm a proud son of a school teacher and a social worker. If it wasn't for my teachers, Miss Patty Resinella, God rest her soul, passed away. She cared about me. I was a D student. She helped me get to become an A student in social studies. I'm a state legislator now. You know, if it wasn't for these people in my life, I would not be anywhere. And if it wasn't for Francis Strickland and Ted Strickland, I would not occupy a seat in the Ohio Senate. And every time Ted Strickland would fire me, Francis Strickland would go to bring me back. You know, she was my top negotiator in my labor union, as I like to joke. But she saw something in me at 23 years of age. A passion for public service, a commitment to my area. I think John Hazley and Ted Strickland at the time could have cared less who we hired, but it was Francis Strickland who was really my voice. It's a reminder to me of what I'm fighting for at the State House, and how important teachers and our community members and leaders in the area are so important in helping lift up and making sure that our young people are successful. And so I'm excited. Ted Strickland is one of us. Francis Strickland knows our area, the state, and it'll be a great day when we have Sherrod Brown, Ted Strickland serving us in the U.S. Congress.
I thought I knew the area of Athens County really well until this morning. We were trying to find the Masonic Lodge over in Gloucester. So, well, it's really always good to be back to Athens County, and the history is so long, and it's like you've been there every step of the way. And the thing that appealed to me about Lou is the same thing that appealed to me about Debbie, and that is they knew what they wanted, and they stayed on it until they got it. And Lou could have been looking for other jobs, but he knew he wanted to work for Ted. He wanted to work in that campaign. He was just out of college. He wanted so bad he'd even talk to the candidate's wife to see if she could. But Debbie, then, we were on the campaign trail while she was running for the House and didn't get it, and then stayed in there until she finally did. And this is what we need, are people who know what they want to do and why they want to do it. And that's why I'm thrilled, and I hope you are too, that Ted is back in this political world and wants to represent us in the Senate. Because if we want to stop what's happening on Wall Street, the best first way to do it is to put people like Ted in there and bring people like Portman out. And this campaign between them, I think as the presidential race unfolds, is going to basically come down to the stark difference between what Ted stands for and what Portman has been voting for up there. And it couldn't be more different if it was just, we're going to have Ted do this and we're going to have Portman to do that. So people shouldn't have any problem knowing which one. And I'm really counting on the fact that as things come along, that people like you who really know him and have seen him stay steady and true to his roots, speak up for him. We just keep knowing that there's going to be a ton of money spent against him, as a lot of money has already been spent, and it's only going to be stopped when people like you don't let it take root. And the most telling point, or makes people stop and pay attention to you faster than anything, is when you say 3 words: I know him. And nobody probably knows him any better than Athens County does. And so that's why it's always fun to come back. Somebody said to me today, you think Ted's ever coming back down here? And I said, oh gosh, yes. He needs to come down here. He needs therapy from every now and then. So I'm really pleased to be here. And also I would be totally remiss if I didn't tell you that Athens County has stepped up percentage-wise, number of people in your county-wise, and contributed more financially to Ted's race than any county in the state. And I think John Hazley is a little sassy about that. He's very happy with that, but it's incredible. And I think he told me he believes that there's been $1 raised for every voter in Athens County, which is a goal that I'd like to challenge to throw out to the rest of the counties, because if we could get that kind of support at the local level, then Ted would be an absolute walkaway. So for Ted, I just want to tell you that we appreciate what you did to put him in the first place, and what you're going to do to help put him back in for the Senate race. And thank you so much. I'm proud to get a hold of those big scissors.
It's expensive to have an office and pay rent and utilities, but it's really a great thing. This is going to be a huge year, starting with our primary, with these contested races and the presidential race. And this is a place that people who aren't always active can call or stop in and get more information. And so it's going to be a really great thing to have this here. And I will say, Chris Nicely, council president, just came in. So both of you for his introductions, and also to thank Patty Mitchell. Those of you who are familiar with her work, she came in this morning and did all these lovely balloon arrangements.
She also did our banner over there, and she's not finished. It's going to say Athens County Democratic Party, and we're going to be able to take it on the parade. Yes.
All right.
Yes, we're
Yeah, they're not the cheap plastic ones.
Are we in there?
Yeah. Okay. Sam, can you get back in the middle,
We need to make sure we get our photo on. Oh, you guys look great. Yeah, you do.
Is there going to be a countdown?
Right. Sure. 3, 2, 1.
It has the website on the back. ribboncuttingscissors.com.
Mike,
Yeah, great picture.
Good.
Oh, yes. She has an electric car.
It's out of eggs, and I like to get the eggs down. This is the guy who just put this here. Cool. You have to probably give him a thank you.
Oh, yeah.
You know who he is?
Yes.
From Long Bottom.
Yes.
Public Relations and Sales Coordinator.
The Athens Hockey Recycling Center.
Correct. So thank you for all for coming. I'm always excited to talk to folks. I mean, this is exciting for us as employees, as an organization, and I know there's been talk, throughout the community. There's been a lot of news articles about it, so that's why you're here to see it. So it's pretty cool. I'm still amazed at how it works. The engineers come up with all this stuff. I think what I read, this is the 308th sorting facility in the United States in the last 20 years. So these continue to pop up here and there. Several in Ohio, Adams Brown, there's one in Marysville, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Akron, and Cleveland. There are quite a few across the country and in Ohio. How many in Ohio? I don't know exact total. It's at least 8. And we toured several of them before we started the planning process for this. So if you may or may not know, it's sort of been in the works for a long time. A lot of things have built up to this point. The initiatives that started back in the 80s within the city of Athens is the first curbside recycling program, and along the way with the health department and the city and the university and the solid waste district. We were part of the solid waste district. We sort of operated as one entity with the recycling center as a nonprofit with the solid waste district. 2 years ago, the commissioners from both Athens and Hocking decided that we needed to split off from that. So a new board of directors was formed, and we separated as an independent 501c3 nonprofit. So all of our revenue, we're self-supporting with the exception of indirect monies from the solid waste district to support some of the recycling programs for the public drop-offs. For all that time, for the past 2 or 3 decades, it's been a source-separated recycling. So you had to sort all your recycling, you used to even have to separate your glass by color. All that's sort of in the past now, and that's the way the industry's going, is throw everything in the bin. There's some complications that come with that. We're putting stuff in there that doesn't go in there, which is an issue for us because now we have to spend more labor to do it. Good thing about it here is we take lots of other other materials. So even though you can't put it in the bin and it is recyclable, we recycle a lot of those things, from scrap metal to batteries, styrofoam, electronics. We're working on adding mattresses and fluorescent tubes in the future. So our other Route 13 facility, we're going to develop that into a CHARM facility, or Center for Hard Recycled Materials. I didn't make up the acronym, it's CHARM. And there is one in Ohio, in Logan County, and there's a really famous one in Boulder, Denver, in Colorado. We're working on the drive-through model. You kind of pull up, if you got electronics, computers, all that kind of stuff, you put that out there, versus everything else you put in the recycling bin, and we pick up curbside. In 2014, after the board separated, we started expanding services and materials. We expanded from 1 and 2 plastics to 1 through 7 plastics, including film plastic. So we added those things. We also started accepting yard waste at our other facility and food waste. We also expanded our routes. So we went beyond the university and the city of Athens to encompass almost 70% of Athens and Hocking counties now. This is where all the trucks come in. Right now we're about somewhere between 20 and 25 tons per day is what's coming in here and getting dumped on this tipping floor. And as you can see on the left is the cardboard. So a lot of places we do collect cardboard separated. Household, it's all mixed together, but in commercial applications where there's so much, we keep it separate. So we did 4,139 tons of recycling is what we processed last year. 2,000 of that was cardboard alone. So the vast majority is cardboard. Everything else is, you know, the glass, the paper, the magazines, and as you can see here. So we started January 1st with this machinery up and running. So we're still working some of the bugs out. We just had some equipment moved from the other location, and the electricians are tying that in right now. So we'll have 3 balers that can work independently. 2 of them are automatic, under control. You can bale cardboard and aluminum cans at the same time, or paper and plastic at the same time. As you can imagine, a lot of materials gets moved around quite a bit. You see cardboard here behind you, and plastic. We generate about 3 53-foot semi-truckloads a week. So, and that can vary. 2, 4, just depends on the volume and the season.
That's a source of income?
Yes, I just had the question today, like, oh, well, these are my good tax dollars at work. That is incorrect. None of your tax dollars go to provide this for this center. 85% of our revenue comes from services rendered. So OU, we have a contract with Ohio University, we have a contract with the City of Athens, and we pick up individual businesses and residences. That's where the vast chunk of our income comes from. The remaining is the sale of the materials after it's processed. So no tax dollars go to work for that. I will say indirectly that the fees that the solid waste district get from the landfill, tipping fees, help support recycling efforts like those public drop-off spots. We essentially contract with the solid waste district to facilitate that, do those locations. And they've provided some of that money that they've identified in their solid waste district plan to put money towards some of this equipment. So they have helped with that, but the vast majority of it we financed or paid for ourselves. We applied for a grant through the EPA for glass machinery. We worked with Rural Action on that. Part of the grant was for machinery, which we'll see in here, called the glass breaker and the air knife, which helps clean the glass. And part of it was for education and bins for the uptown bars and restaurants to continue to collect glass separated because it's such high volumes in the uptown district. So that's one way we did get some funding for that. So we collect any residences within the City of Athens we collect. It's a franchise agreement between us and the city. Now, if a business is in the uptown district, that's us. But if you're a business outside of the uptown district, you have your choice of providers. But there are only 3 in the City of Athens. Us, Rumpke, and Waste Management.
I thought farmers, it wasn't farmers.
Well, there are only 3 permitted by city ordinance in the City of Athens. Farmers used to be, but once farmers sold most of their business to Rumpke, that transferred to Rumpke. And they bid against us for the contract. So we don't pick up all this 25 tons a day, or whatever it is. We also work with other local haulers of trash and recycling. So there's a company in Logan. They collect curbside recycling in Logan and in Nelsonville. Nelsonville is also a franchise system. And they bring that material here. We actually pay them for the cardboard, and then they drop the recycling for free. So we're working with different models there to really, you know, not just put other companies out of business, but to really more of a design as a regional hub. We also have recycling coming from Marietta Recycling Center. I'm working with Morgan County, and hopefully getting some talks with other solid waste districts in the region to bring those materials in here to get them processed.
Outside Marietta, do they pay to bring it here?
We actually pay them because they basically bring a semi-load of unbaled cardboard, and we bale it, and we pay them. That could change depending on the commodities market. If you're all aware, the price of oil is down, and all our materials are linked to that price of that barrel of oil. So if the price of oil goes up, the value of our commodities goes up, which means we make more money. Which maybe at some time in the future we could pay out for single-stream recycling. At the same time, it could go the other way, and we may have to charge a processing fee, which a lot of recycling centers do. And they charge a per ton fee. We know because I sent 800 tons to Rumpke last year. Because our construction was complete. So for a while we got overwhelmed and shipped some of it up there to their processing facility. The volumes have certainly increased. In 2013 we processed 3,200 and some odd tons of recycling. In 2014 it moved up to 3,825. Last year we did 4,139 tons. So there's been some big jumps over the last couple of years. As far as the exact participation rate, like who is recycling, I don't know that. People are recycling more in general, and more people are getting access to it is the biggest thing. So we haven't reached capacity yet.
Could handle 45 to 50 tons a day. 7 tons per hour.
Correct. So if we added additional shifts, the maximum we could process would be about 22,000 tons per year. So we're only at 4,000, so we got a lot of room to grow.
You're saying you're getting about 25 tons a day.
20 to 25. That could be a little bit more as we collect more data and we're in operation longer. We'll have a little bit better sense of what that is exactly. We work with brokers to get rid of all the material, so we don't have to go to a mill and try to sell cardboard. We work with a broker who works with other companies, puts it all together and ships it off. I defer and work with Rural Action on that. They're wrapping up doing assessments at the schools and talking with teachers and students. So they do a lot of that in-house, and so we sort of work on all the rest of it.
Has the material going to the landfill dropped at all?
It hasn't dropped because it's increased because we picked up more customers. So until we somewhat level out some, we won't have a good idea about. Anecdotally, when we go to our customers' houses and they sit out a lot more recycling than trash, we know we're doing a good job. You know, we're improving. You know, is there improvement that needs to happen? Yes. There's still a lot of people not participating.
But do you know what the figures are for the landfills?
Yeah.
As far as are there?
It's about 2 to 1. So about every 2 tons we take to the landfill, we recycle a ton. So it's still a lot of room to improve. There's a catwalk that goes up and around through here. We'll just kind of slowly walk up through.
What were those guys pulling out?
So at the end, the first layer, they pull off stuff that isn't recyclable, and then they also pull off film plastic like this and put it in those yellow tubes, which is that vacuum system. We'll walk all the way around so you can see. That availability, even on the truck routes, the drivers can rotate as well.
No way to automate that sorting yet?
Maybe with several $1 million more, but mostly
It looks
not.
like mean, it's being separated with different means, but then there's pickers are just trying to clean it up a little more.
They are. As the first station there, as it goes through that glass breaker,
The first pickers, what are they picking?
they're picking two things. There's supposed to be 4 people there, not 2. So they're having a time today. So the first 2 are supposed to be picking out film plastic and putting it in those yellow tubes. And also trash and getting that off. That goes into a conveyor outside.
Trash like compost, garbage?
Non-recyclable.
Non-recyclables. They can't go through our system. Scrap metal and electronics, they pull that stuff off and put it there beside them at the end of the ship. You know, aggregate it so it bends somewhere. And then what you see in there when everything goes down, it started on those tumblers. They're just rubber tumblers. With the assist of gravity, all the cans and bottles tumble back down and go on that bottom belt up. And then most of the magazines and fiber containing materials go down another conveyor on that last sort line that you saw. They're picking out the white office paper, which is more valuable, and letting everything else go into the mixed. So that's mixed paper magazines, newspaper, and junk mail, all that going together. 10 of those folks up there, 10 of them are from the work release program through the SEPTA. So they rotate in and out, and they're only here for up to maximum of 3 months. So we started with that in 2014 with 6 SEPTA positions, and then we've added up to 4 more to 10. So out of the 33 people we have working here, 10 of them are from the SEPTA program.
Great place for community service.
Yeah. So we also accept volunteer work. We have
Teach me a lesson.
you know, a few people come for community service hours. Some of them work in the office sometimes. Some of them work on the line or on the trash trucks if they want to get that experience. Yeah. So we've got several trucks out at all given times, 7 days a week. We're picking up trash cans.
And I never saw the glass.
It's hard to see inside there, so it's all mixed in together. And like the 1 tumblers that you did see, the ones inside the glass breaker are just steel. So it breaks all the glass and it falls down through and goes into a roll-off that's outside the building here. But that tumbler, that's called a trommel, and the aluminum and plastic are supposed to go through there. And most of the cans fall down through the screen and gets into the eddy current. The eddy current's like a reverse magnet that separates the aluminum from everything else.
It's all a magnet. Picking up cans.
The magnet, yeah, it gets the steel before it gets to that trommel. So after it gets through the trommel, it's supposed to just be plastic. And it goes on that conveyor up into a bin, which can be baled by the other baler. Like a magnet, if you think of it about a reverse magnet, it just expels the aluminum. It shoots it down a chute down into another tube. And like the vacuum system, it has a blower, and it goes through that blower tube into another bin. They put a lot of thought into it. I'll give the engineers credit.
All I see out here is cardboard and plastic.
Okay.
Where are the other items you're sorting?
Plastic, we don't have to worry about moisture, but everything else we do. So there's a dock out there with semi-truckloads. So as soon as things are baled, they're taken directly into the semi-truck trailer. I think there's aluminum and office paper and mixed paper out there. And then all the baled plastic gets stuck out here with the cardboard as well.
It got quiet. Is it break time or?
They're shutting down for today. They'll start the cleanup process. As you can see, it's pretty messy. There's a lot of cleanup to do.
I mean, it's a mess. How much of this do you have to clean up?
Yeah, so they'll spend the next hour brooming things up, putting some of it back in here or separating it and cleaning everything up. And then once a week they blow off all the equipment, and we have another company come in and do all the greasing for the machines. So it's there's a lot of maintenance to it. Right. That is a dry fire suppression system.
Okay.
So there's not loaded with water. In the case that there is a fire, it will be pressurized.
Those things on the ceiling there.
Yeah. And so there's sprinkler things.
Just sprinklers throughout the building.
Okay.
So you say dry.
So there's no water in it. If the fire alarms get triggered, so the sensors get triggered, it releases the valve and puts water in it.
Oh, it will.
Yes. Because of the freezing temperatures, you can't keep water in it.
Save all this junk.
Should we head to the compost and we'll check that out? And Travis Wendell here, he's the compost operator and does all the collection as well, and he can tell us a little bit about how that works. Probably walk through the building and out the side door, unless you guys want to walk in the mud. It's up to you.
Sure does.
Selling to museums or auction them off at Sotheby's. That's right. Original Andy Warhol, $10 million each.
The price of aluminum is down pretty low.
800 to 900 pounds of bale.
So how much do you think
Someone
it's
tried to
worth,
steal
a
it.
bale?
I don't know. I don't do any of the selling, but I know on the retail side of it, like if you go sell your cans, it's down to 30 cents a pound.
And how many pounds is one of those? 900?
8 to 900.
Huh.
So you wait until you have a truckload and then they haul it off.
Yep. cardboard, we have so much of it, we can't fit enough trailers there, so we just have live loads. They send a truck a couple times a week and they load it up and keep doing that. Scrap metal is collected. If we get scrap metal here, we take it to our other one where we have roll-off.
I mean cans.
Oh, steel cans?
Steel cans.
They might have been out back because we don't have to worry about getting them wet either. The cardboard, we sell it to a broker and they send it to various cardboard mills where they basically grind it all up and make new cardboard.
So it doesn't matter where it's wet or not?
No, because they're going to get it wet anyways. We weigh it when it's dry, so we have floor scales in there, so we weigh every bale, and then we have that load ticket when they come to get it, so they know the dry weight of it. So that's what they pay us by. Yeah, shredded paper is a little bit of an issue, and we haven't quite figured that out yet.
Now, if you compare your end product here, like these bales of aluminum cans and steel and paper, and then compare it with what was produced by the sort system, do you think the product of the sorting system was a cleaner, higher value product than this is?
Hypothetically, I would say yes. None of our...
Realistically, on the market, if you have a bale of sort separated, consumer sorted separated paper as compared to one of your bales,
yes,
which is cleaner?
That's been an industry. I mean, the source separated system is a cleaner system, but it's up to the mills what they accept, and we haven't had anything rejected. They haven't said this is too contaminated, we won't take it, because they will let you know if it is. The prices I haven't seen change.
Less than what you were getting from the sorting system?
No, we're not getting anything different at this point.
No different price?
No. See, the market's changed over time. Before we were baling magazines separate, newspapers separate, office paper separate, mixed like junk bale paper separate, but now we're just sorting the office paper and putting everything else together because, well, the reality is that there's hundreds of other MERPs doing the same thing, and sort of the industry shifting because of these things.
I assume aluminum is the most valuable.
Yes.
The least valuable, plastic?
Well, plastic's worth more than scrap metal right now.
More than scrap metal?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Scrap metal is low right now.
I thought plastic was real low value.
It usually is, but that's the state of the commodities market right now.
What can they do with mixed plastic? Because every plastic product
is different.
It's different.
So we ship all of our baled plastic, what you see out there, we ship it to a place in Pennsylvania, and they use what they call optical sorters. So they use lasers to detect the polymer of plastic and little jets of air to separate the plastic every which way into each category.
So it still has to be separated before use?
Yes. Because they have to separate it, then they grind it and pelletize it in a form that manufacturers. We get more money out of it if we separate it, but we used to separate it like that, 1s and 2s, and that's all we accepted. But then we switched to 1 to 7s. We get such a high volume, we get more value out of it by just leaving it all mixed and selling it at a lower price like that, and we don't have to sort it. We send it to a yes, because there's just so much of it. I mean, you can imagine trying to separate 7 types of plastic up there on that sort line.
You get any contaminants in the stream? Let's say like an aerosol can of paint or something, does that mess you up?
No, we can take aerosol cans. That's acceptable if they're empty in the mixed stream. Contamination's been pretty low.
What do you see for contaminants?
It depends on how you look at it. Like hangers are really a contaminant in our system. We don't want hangers coming through there. But also, a half-eaten piece of pizza is a contaminant too. Sure.
What happens to hangers when they go through?
They pull scrap metal and electronics. Some of those things they pull off, and then we ship to our other place and aggregate together. So over there, that's where we take electronics and other things like that, we ship that over there and put it all together. And then we haul the scrap metal off to the scrap yard. Yeah, and sometimes they can clog up the machinery, which is why we don't want them in there in the first place. Or light bulbs or many other things.
The lids on the plastic bottles.
What's that?
The lids on the plastic bottles.
I think the new mantra is just to leave the lids on there.
They used to want you to not include the lid.
Correct, because it is a different type of plastic. Generally they're number 5, whereas the bottles are number 2. But once they put it in a hydraulic press, it just pops those caps off of there, and then we send it to Pennsylvania and they break that open and then it gets separated.
What about leaving caps on glass bottles?
Inevitably, some of them ends up in the glass, which the Glass Recycling Center in Dayton just has a magnet and pulls them out.
Oh.
Some of them end up in there, which our magnet gets them. So they're caught somewhere in the mix. Everybody, the latecomers, this is Travis Wendell. He does operates this compost facility and does all the collection. He's going to tell you a little bit about it.
This is the pile I bring all the buckets to. I collect buckets, residential buckets, commercial, and I have a little booth at the farmer's market. And we collect the food waste that way, and I just bring it, and this is where I process it at. This pile here that's smoking, that's the initial pile that I bring everything to and empty it all right here. Then it just gets mixed up. Basically, it's just food waste and wood chips and whatever, like leaves or any other organic material we get. And it just sits here until I get enough for the bay. These bays are back here in the back. They're aerated bays, so they blow air up underneath. So once they go back in the back there, I don't have to turn them. So I turn them out here until it's time for them to go back into the bay. And they set out there. It's roughly 30-day periods. It will set in this bay here for 30 days, and it gets flipped to this one, and gets flipped to that. And once it gets over here, it's ready to run through the screener. The screener's here, and it separates into the final product. So that's basically a quick roundabout of how it goes.
So from here to there is how long?
Oh, roughly 90 days.
Mm-hmm. What about summer versus winter?
That doesn't really affect it. It still cooks about the same temperature. This pile here is about 140 degrees internally. So, and it's even when it's really cold out, it still maintains that heat.
Where do you get your wood chips from?
We have local tree services where we've been talking to, and they've been dropping us chips. So I have chips here and chips there and chips out back. So we have a good supply of chips right now.
What's the proportion of chips to garbage?
Well, it's roughly 50-50 almost. Like
Try to do 50-50.
Yeah, it's pretty close. See, I'll throw all the food in, and then I give it a good mix, and then I give it a nice good cover after I do a mix. It's always covered.
It's covered.
What's that?
What covers it?
The wood chips.
Oh,
I mix the wood chips in with it, and I also cover them at the end. And what that does is keeps the animals out.
I mean, this is totally open. Anything from dogs and
and
coyotes come in here, or
no? I've seen a raccoon on top of the pile once. That's about the only thing. And I have the birds in here every day. When I get here, they all scatter. So. That's about it. I haven't really had any other things.
How do you mix it?
The bobcat. Right there. I used to do it with a shovel back when no, I just dump the food out. I collect 3 days a week, and then I also do the farmers market booth as well. We have about 200 customers overall between all three of the things.
Can you tell us about the exchange that you do for the customers versus and the compost?
Yes, well, at the farmers market I have a little booth, and people sign up as a membership. These guys are members. And you pretty much just take a bucket home and fill it up and bring it back to the market every week or every other week or whenever you want them to come back. And you always get a clean, empty bucket. I wash all these by hand out here. People ask if it stinks, and we have resealable lids, so they snap on pretty well. And you don't really get much odor. I don't.
So what do they get in return when they bring their compost?
You pay your membership. It's $5 a month at the market. And when you do that, you get a bucket of finished product. So you get two buckets a year.
what happens to most of this?
Well, we resell it back to area farmers. You have people just come here in their truck, and I fill it up. It's $25 a cubic yard. So most pickup trucks are between 1 and 2.5 cubic yards.
Do you have a lot of residential pickup?
Right now, I have about 30 people that I go to the house and pick up from. That's starting to grow, so we're getting more and more signed up.
So
and you can
sell this? Do you? If I just drove up here, my pickup truck, and I just buy it?
Yes, and I'd be here, and I would load it up into your truck. And
isn't that paper going in?
Yes, we get a lot of. I get a lot of shredded paper that I use out here on occasions, and bathroom paper towels and tissues.
Is this the paper from over there?
No,
that's probably compostable serviceware, plates and forks and bowls.
Yeah, it's like a Bagasse. It's made of like
Where from? Where are you guys from?
we're part of the Zero Waste
I mean, where does this stuff come from?
So where does this stuff come from? Where did you pick it up?
This is from an event that we did called the High Gravity Hullabaloo. It was like a craft beer and smoked meats festival. So we worked with the food vendors up there to ensure that they use all compostable material.
We help Boogie on the bricks as well. They just shred all their stuff up, their compostable plates and forks, and it gets mixed in. Everything seems to cook real well, breaks down, so I never have an issue.
Is this pile like 2 or 3 weeks worth?
A little over a month old here. I add to this.
And the new stuff will be added
Yeah,
on?
I'll add right to this part. I strategically add it. I don't add it just in the front part. I'll add it on the front, on the side, on the back, and then I flip it all around. So by the time it goes into the back bays, it's pretty much all equal.
Even the new stuff?
Yes.
So how long does it take to accumulate a pile to go into the bay?
Right now it's about a month and a half-ish to get the volume to fill one of those up. Well, the first 2 bays here actually have the aerated system underneath. The last one is just sits there. That's what we're working on. We're eventually going to have more bays to process in because we're looking to take big industrial drops. Once we get those, we get drops like that. They're like 10 to 20 tons at a time.
So do you test this in any way for any chemical?
Yes, I usually do 2 batches at a time. So I'm getting ready to screen that this upcoming week. That will be screened and that will be screened, and then you send it out to get it tested, and it comes back with all the levels of everything.
Lead, stuff like that?
Lead, mercury, selenium, some of those heavy metals, salinity, pH, compost maturity index that the EPA come up with, and a few other things. Also test for salmonella and what was the other one?
E. coli.
E. coli. Thank you.
Organic farmers use this?
It's not certified organic, but I mean, essentially it is organic. I mean, we can't control what people put in their food waste, but that's not really our goal.
No, right. If there are high levels of heavy metals, then you say, well, we can't use that dirt, or...
Yeah, so the EPA regulates this facility as a Class 2 compost facility. We can take animal waste, food waste, and yard waste. We don't really have the equipment for yard waste, but if leaves come in here, that's great because it helps add to the mix. Those testing results have to be sent to the health department, and they're recorded with the EPA. So if there's anything beyond normal levels or acceptable levels, then we can't sell that stuff.
So what do you do with it?
Well, I don't know at that point. We've never had that happen.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Since we just bought the facility in August.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Probably about between 1 and 2 tons for food waste.
Permitted for 12.
Yes, we can go higher, it's just a different license.
And I understand that one of the problems, at least this was the situation, the downtown restaurants could for free just put all of their waste into a
when they do that, it's just a trash truck. And it comes in and dumps 20 tons, and it's everywhere. And it's hard to control the extra liquid off of it. We have issues with that. But we're trying to build towards taking those again.
As a citywide, as a city service this year, and we're trying to build capacity to get there. So, I mean, we can't do it for them, essentially.
No, right.
But all of you can. You know, whoever lives in the city can voice their opinion and say, hey, why aren't we doing this?
It would help if those restaurants didn't have to pay.
If it was a part of the city service, everything costs money.
Right.
But collectively, if 3,000 people do it, it costs a lot less per person.
Is what it's supposed to feel like. Like if you go over and grab into it, it would feel about like that.
We've got a lot of restaurants. Can we walk back and stick our hands in it?
Yeah, if you want.
Play in the dirt.
Once I flip this to here and this to here, the temperature will be back up for another 30 days or what.
So there's a separation of the bigger sticks and stuff?
Yes, that's what I run. The screener is the orbital thing there.
Oh, that thing. Okay.
Yes, and what that does is separate my chips from the finished product. Anything big, I'll have, like you'll see bones or...
So what do you do with the leftover big stuff?
I put it into the chip pile and reuse it.
Just goes back in the chip pile. That's the chip pile.
Oh,
Yep.
so eventually you hope it all composts?
Yeah, eventually it might, but I just...
to be chips.
Yeah. But it's just a process.
How do you measure the temperature? You have like a long probe?
Yes, I have one sitting over here. It's on top of this pile. Here's one of these.
I see.
This pile here is about 100 degrees. I just pulled it out. And then like this pile here would be a lot hotter.
That's the 11th thermometer.
That's kind of cool. Huh.
What do you do with laws and stuff that can't be broke down?
Right now I just, the last ones I just took home from my fire, but usually I don't I don't have a place for them. I don't get an extreme amount of extra or big pieces of wood. The guys at Chip It do a really good job at it. So
most of the aspen that comes here. And
yes, and I have Robson Tree Service. And there's other ones that we've talked to, but those are the main two.
I know we used to get a lot of their stuff out at Richard's Sunnymead Farms and stuff, and then they started
Yeah,
weeding off,
as Monday started within like the last 30 days, and they've been bringing us all kinds of chips. I have them everywhere right now, so. Which is good. Once we start taking bigger industrial drops, I need all those. So. And one of these piles, when I go to screen it, it's about 40% good and 60% recycled chips. So I only get about 40% of finished product out of one of these bays.
How do you use that screen?
Well, it just has a gas motor, and you just fire it up, and it just spins.
Is it horizontal then?
You load it up with the Bobcat?
Yep. Well, I'm getting ready to do it this week. I drag that screener with the Bobcat, just put a chain on the bottom, and I'll drag it over here to the middle of the place, and I'll just come get a scoop, put it through.
So when you're emptying out a bin, you scoop it out, put it in the screener.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, when it gets to the last one over is ready to be screened. This, I'll take this and flip it to here. So pretty much it stays 30 days here, 30 days there, and about 30 days on the last one.
So you have to move it from here to here.
Yep, from there to there, there to
Across the other end.
Yep.
The finished one goes to the screener and then
Yep.
that one gets moved over there.
Yep.
And this one moves over there.
Yep.
All with that Bobcat.
Yep.
You've got time to spare.
I do pickups. I pick up 3 days a week plus Saturday, so I'm out picking up contents 4 days, and then I process and wash buckets the rest of the days, along with the paperwork that I do inside. So that's about it. I'm out here. I work 40 hours a week, but
you can do all this in 40 hours a week.
I stay very busy.